Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, I know I'm your favorite muchacho, but I got more muchachos for you. They're the Bronx Muchachos. It's a Yankee podcast group which covers the Yankee organization from the major leagues down to the minors, even the Dominican Summer League. And they're here to join us now to discuss some of the hot topics going into the 2022 season. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show.
What's
Thanks
going
for
on?
having us.
And
Thanks
you
for
guys are the
having us.
Bronx Muchachos. We have Danny, David, Mark, Enrique. There is a fifth muchacho. It's like a missing Beatle, a missing Rolling Stone, but we love him. But unfortunately, couldn't make it here today. So I guess I'll take the place. I'll be the fifth muchacho today.
There you go.
So
You're the
more than
honorary guy
welcome.
today.
So what's your guys' background? You all buddies for a long time? What's your relationship?
We all met each other. We've all in and around. We've all been. We all live in Florida in different spots, and we've kind of all got on different chats. We've made friends with each other through different chats. Danny and I. Danny lived in close to me for a little while, and we would meet up. We'd talk Yankees with a bunch of other Yankee fans here. Enrique and Alex live close by to each other, and he actually helped. Enrique actually one time over the summer was able to put together a like a takeover of Miami Marlins Park. So a bunch of us went down, met over at the Marlins for the Marlins Yankee game on the 31st, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when that's the first time I met David down there. But David's been part of one of the chat groups that we've been part of as well. So when we put this all together, it was just kind of a natural fit that all of us kind of came together.
All right, and people can follow you on Twitter at Bronx Muchachos, as well as check out your podcast and wherever podcasts are available. And I guess it seemed like your most recent one you actually had on the Hudson Valley Renegades manager, Dan Fiorito, who from Yonkers and went to Fordham Prep. And actually, I found that interesting because I went to Fordham Prep. So there you go. Really briefly, what insight did he have on? I guess it's a high A, I guess minor league team, but did he feel there's any sort of prospects that he feels really good about?
Well, we talked about a couple guys. I obviously Anthony Volpe is probably at the top of the list in terms of guys that may make an immediate impact in 2022. Elijah Dunham, a guy that played in the AFL, was on his team. Another New Yorker, Pat DeMarco. So we talked about those guys, but I think Anthony Volpe is probably the number one prospect on that team.
So now we have, entering 2022 here with the Yankees. Again, 2021, kind of a disappointment, especially the way it ended in Fenway. In your mind, what's the most important needs for the Yankees going into next season?
I would say starting pitching, first base, shortstop, center field, maybe a catcher. That's where I'd go with it.
I agree. I think they need pitching help. Garrett Cole can't do it by himself. They got to address the first base issue, whether it's bringing Rizzo back, going after another first baseman via trade or free agency. And you got to address the catching situation. And for sure, you got to address the shortstop situation. That's first and foremost, in my opinion.
Now, as for the first base, obviously, we hear a couple of things that possibly maybe re-sign Anthony Rizzo, and/or you've been hearing recently, perhaps pulling off some big trade, getting both Matt Olson and Matt Chapman from the Oakland A's. What do each of you guys maybe could chime in? What you think is the wise move? Spend money, or I have to unload some great prospects, but get a stud first baseman as well, a good third baseman who could possibly also play short?
I would say probably go the trade route. You can't keep everybody on the 40-man roster. So if I'm trading for, say, Matt Olson, for example, I would probably package Miguel Andujar, Voit, and Urshela, and maybe a couple of pitchers here and there, and send them over to Oakland and get Olson that way. That's how I'd go with it. Or you just bring back Rizzo, maybe on a 3 or 4 year deal, $75 to $80 million, and just go that way too.
Well, I think for first base, we got to go with the highest person in the market, well, the best player in the market, and I think that's Freddie Freeman. So I'd be willing to spend the money to get Freddie Freeman in pinstripes, the guy that's won the championship this year. He's an MVP. He's a multiple-time All-Star. He's won a Gold Glove, left-handed bat that could provide a lot of power at Yankee Stadium. So he's a guy that I would target to help out first base. And for shortstop, personally, I go with Trevor Story.
I think when it comes to the first baseman between Rizzo, Freeman, and Olsen, I don't think you can really go wrong, especially left-handed power aiming at 314 feet porch right there. We all know that Rizzo brings a platinum glove. Freddie Freeman, I believe, is also a gold glove, and Matt Olson is kind of just getting into his own right now, so he's on the rise. Olson's going to cost us a lot, and probably you're going to package more than just Olson for Chapman. You probably want to go Olson and Sean Manaea instead. You got to get yourself a left-handed starting pitcher to go along with that, and that's going to, like you said, that's going to cost you a few things. It's going to cost you possibly a Gio. It's going to cost you definitely either a Volpe or a Peraza. It's going to cost you probably a Luis Heel, maybe a Medina to go as well. They might ask for like a Loizaga or a Chad Green.
Oswaldo Cabrera.
Could be cool. You're right. Cabrera could be put into there as well. I mean, anything could happen at that point. You know, Freddie Freeman's just going to cost you money, but he's going to cost you a lot of years as well. And I mean, first baseman, especially for our system, we don't really have anything. So I'd rather get somebody sturdy who's going to be there for quite some time. Or you could or Anthony Rizzo could be there for a short period of time and then transition Austin Wells, who's our top catcher, but I personally don't consider him as a catcher. Everything I've heard and read, he's more likely going to be at first base. So you can go that route as well.
And just to piggyback, sorry, Mark, my bad.
Go for it.
Just to piggyback off what Mark was saying too, either way you go with this, either the trade route or the money route, you're still gonna have to unload people because you got a crowded roster, and then you're gonna have people playing out of position again. So say like you get Olsen, put him at first base, well then you got Torres at second. So now you got to find a home for Mayhew, and then if you bring in Chapman, you're gonna be playing people all over the place. And DJ LeMahieu is not gonna sit the bench getting paid $15 million a year. So either way you go with this, you're still gonna have to clear space on the 40-man roster.
Exactly. I mean that move is just the first of the many dominoes that are going to have to happen.
Yep.
Because then you still got to make the deals for another starting pitcher. You're going to have to make a deal or figure out what you're going to do catching, and you're going to have to figure out shortstop. You're going to have to figure out center field, as we've all been talking about, possibly left field as well. I mean, depending on how Joey Gallo is, and he might get there's rumors that he might get packaged to go elsewhere as well. So there's a lot of moving parts that are out there. So one move will precipitate a lot of other moves, I think.
I feel that no matter what you do, you just gotta make sure you do something. You can't just stand pat. I know there was the rumor lately of acquiring Chapman and playing him out of position at shortstop. You cannot do something like that. I feel like Mark said, you can't go wrong. Like, I feel like you go big, you start at the very top, like Danny said, and you go for a Freddie Freeman, shoot for the moon. If you can get him, why not? And, if you can swing a deal for Matt Olson, go for it if it doesn't cost you too many high-end prospects. And if not, if you gotta, if indeed your third priority is Rizzo, that's not a bad third priority. I could see a lot of teams that would love to have Anthony Rizzo as their starting first baseman. Like, come on, let's be real. The dude brings the glove. He brings the left-handed bat. I'm wearing his jersey right now as we speak. You know what I'm saying? So I like his fit with the Yankees. I like his fit as the left-handed bat. And I don't see where you could go wrong in either of the three scenarios, to be honest with you.
No, I agree with you. And actually, I like Rizzo just because he just he kind of fit like a glove for the Yankees. And he's 32. It's like, yeah, you have to pay him a lot of money, but I don't think you have to give him as long a term of deal as you might have to with a Freddie Freeman. And I think he might just be a little cheaper, and you have to give a prospect. So again, yeah, it's money. It's not my money, but I'd rather them go with Rizzo, not have to commit to a long-term deal. And again, he's exactly what the Yankees need. Left-handed bat at Yankee Stadium. We all know the deal. And of course, as a first baseman, that's kind of the ideal situation. And of course, and then you're going to have someone like DJ LeMahieu, which I agree with on the point when you guys made earlier, is that yeah, you're paying this money, he's going to be on this team, and I think his future is going to be at third base, and because there's really nowhere else to go. You put Gio at short, and Gleyber is going to be at second. So again, you're not putting DJ on the bench, even though he's coming back from that hernia injury.
The good thing about DJ is that he's able to move around. He does have that versatility. When he first signed him, we weren't going to play him at short. I think Tula was our opening day shortstop then. DJ didn't even get the opening day nod. So that's the benefits of having DJ. And another thought that I just had just with this conversation is if we do go the Rizzo Freeman route, the Yankees and A's already, I can almost guarantee they've had conversations, whether it be about Olsen, Chapman, Manaya, Montas. If they do acquire first baseman, Chris Bassett, another starting pitcher that's, could provide length. And so if we do go the free agent route with Freeman, with Rizzo, I wouldn't mind seeing a deal where we acquire Chapman and Manaya or Montas or Bassett, and we could still package maybe not Peraza or Volpe, but a Heel, Austin Wells, a Stephon Florial to get Chapman to play third, go back to the free agent market, get Story, and we still making our team better with trades and free agency.
And one of the other areas, again, mentioned before, that importance can be starting pitching. Now, obviously, you have Garrett Cole, the ace, but the whole issue last year, again, they kind of cracked down on the spider tack and the substance, using substance on your hand, and his spin rate was down. He was getting clocked all over the place. So, I meant, was that just an aberration, or we kind of have to hold our breath now with Garrett Cole? I mean, what's the real Garrett Cole? The person we've had last year and pitched the last year in Houston, or the person that was kind of shaky with Pittsburgh?
I mean, for me, in my opinion, I don't think you can, just look at what happened to him after the spider tack and say, oh no, the Garrett Cole from Pittsburgh is back. You've seen what he can do, both in Houston and his first year with us last year, albeit a shortened season. You've seen what Garrett Cole can do. Like he told Marley Rivera in that one interview, his resume speaks for itself, like he told her. I think, my opinion, I don't know if you guys want to elaborate as well, but in my opinion, I think what happened to him after the spider tack was cracked down on is an aberration. I feel like, it took some adjusting, but not just for him, for pitchers all around. If you notice, he was not the only pitcher that got hit around after the spider tack was cracked down on. He wasn't the only one around the majors. It was league wide. So I feel like this is just a period of him adjusting to this new way of Major League Baseball operating, as well as the other pitchers around the league. And as soon as he does that, his talent is way too good to not rebound and not make the proper adjustments to be the Garrett Cole that we all know and love.
I agree with Enrique, man. The whole spider tack thing was league wide. If you did use it, I mean, whatever, it's been an unwritten rule in baseball for as long as the time can tell. I don't think anything he's done in his career should be discounted. We all know with Houston that there was probably some funny business going on with a lot of other things other than spider tack. But let's not forget, Garrett Cole's not the only one who got nailed for the spider tack thing. I mean, Adam Wainwright got nailed for it too, but no one said anything about him. It was just an all-out crusade on Garrett Cole, which I think is kind of unfair. And then, as far as Enrique was saying it, it was league wide. I mean, Tyler Glasnow blew his elbow out because of it. So, and the way I feel about spider tack is if you're going to let batters kick up their bats basically all the way up to their barrel with pine tar, why can't the pitchers use something to control the baseball? Like in Japan, their baseball has already got a little bit of a stick to it. So I don't see why MLB just doesn't go and use the material that they're using on the baseballs in Japan. But we all know Manfred likes to, mess around with stuff, especially baseballs and now the CBA and everything else. So I wouldn't be surprised if, nothing gets done on that front. But I think Garrett Cole's the real deal. He's lights out. He's today's version of Roger Clemens, in my opinion. So And if anything, I think what happened to him last year was just between the ears and all the noise and all the doubt and everything else going on. So that's what I think happened with Cole. And I think his hamstring injury in Boston was going on for way longer than anybody else anticipated. Like the same thing with DJ. I think DJ was playing hurt all year. He just didn't say anything, so he could be there for the team. So that's where I stand on Garrett Cole.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing you can't really say about that. I mean, Garrett Cole, he's not the pitcher he was in Pittsburgh. I mean, they were telling him to do certain things in Pittsburgh over there, which are archaic in most pitching aspects. Throwing a lot at the time, it was throwing a lot of two seamers, low in the zone. I mean, that's coming back with since a lot of people are throwing sinkers nowadays, but their sinkers are up in the upper 90s to 100 miles an hour. So he had a better forcing fastball. They were just teaching him to ride it high in the zone. So that's where he started living and dying up there, which was good for him. Obviously, this whole spider tack thing was definitely between the ears, and like everyone said. And one person we forgot to mention with the spider tack was Lucas Giolito. I mean, he and Josh Donaldson almost got into it a couple times about that whole thing. And as regard to the baseball that Dave was saying, yeah, Manfred likes to mess around with baseballs and doesn't tell the teams what baseball's showing up. But I think that they disregarded the Japanese baseball already with the sticky stuff there. But since MLB owns Rawlings and Rawlings creates the baseballs, they're creating a baseball with some sort of tack on there that will be league-wide acceptable. Because not only do the pitchers want it, but all the batters want it as well. And I think that's the part that we're all forgetting is that it's wet. It's if they're playing in the rain or if it's too humid, they can't get or too cold. The pitchers can't get a field. Ball's coming at 100 miles an hour at your head, and nobody knows it's coming. Like that's the thing that every batter goes.
No,
I'd rather than put the sticky stuff on there, so I know that I'm not that my livelihood's intact. And that's where you have the brass who never played the game versus the people who do play the game need to kind of come together.
Even David Ortiz mentioned that when Michael Pineda got caught with the pine tar a couple of years ago, he said, "No, I want these pitches to have grip because I don't feel like getting a fastball in between my ears." So speaking about 100 miles per hour, obviously, Aroldis Chapman, our closer, last season got off to a great start, and then for some reason just like got the yips and like afraid to even throw a strike. I mean, he's not like a rookie. I mean, he's a veteran. He's still in his prime, but what is it with him where like he just has these kind of meltdowns and he goes off the beaten path for 2 months and like it takes him a while to get back.
I mean,
he's
getting up there in age.
Everyone's jumping in on this one.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of knee issues to go with it. Yeah, no, he's got a lot of knee issues. It's the age. It's the torque that he's had for all those years. I mean, it's just a lot of things. I mean, if you ever watch him looking at him on Instagram, I mean, this boy, that guy's a scary dude. If you watch him, he's built like a brick shit house, to say, for lack of better terms. I mean,
after that Marlins series that we all went to, Enrique and I saw him out in behind the stadium when they were all getting on the bus to go back to the hotel. The guy's a monster. Yeah. I mean, he's huge. You see him small on TV, but the dude is a massive human being.
Exactly. So, I mean, and he's got his delivery. There's so many moving parts to that delivery. I mean, he's all over the place. That fastball is just flying all over the place. He tried to live with the slider. Everyone was just eating the slider up. Then he's trying to do that splitter. Then everyone started figuring out the splitter, not touching it. I mean, he just needs to focus on his fastball, get the fastball in the zone, even if he needs to drop it down to 95 and then bring it back up. I mean, he just needs to build the confidence. That's where it comes down to.
So I think he needs to learn how to be a finesse pitcher too. He needs to dial down the MPHs and worry about being a finesse pitcher at this point in his career.
That's perfect because I was going to say something similar, Dave, where, what made Chapman so dominant back in his Cincinnati days was the fact that he was a rare breed. Not a lot of pitchers during that time were throwing 100 plus miles an hour, 103, it was unseen, So as a matter of fact, I remember when the Yankees first acquired him, when he would come in, the whole video package on the Titantron in Yankee Stadium was, the fire around them, basically implicating that here comes the heat. But now you look and not just relievers, but every starter can throw 100. So, that's why he's made the adjustments he's made. That's why he's added, the splitter and the slider. I believe that he added a slider as well, right, Mark? So that has helped him. And yeah, I feel like Dave said, I agree with you, Dave, 100%. He's got to evolve his game. And my opinion about why this happens to him season after season, I feel like goes back to his Chicago Cubs days when the Yankees traded him to Chicago for, basically for the Cubs to have a rental and get that World Series ring. Joe Madden used him, basically beat him down. Like, the dude was worn out after that World Series. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if literally after the Cubs won that World Series, Chapman took some serious R&R. And I feel like he hasn't been the same since. And that's why you see him at the start of the season and he ramps it up. He looks dominant, but then towards the end of the season, fatigue kicks in. And I feel like fatigue is a major factor. I don't know. What do you think, Danny? I know you've been chomping at the bit to get in.
I am, yeah. So, what Chapman is, I feel like it's his motion. When it comes to his technique, it's really hard to repeat, to get back and playing with his arm slot. Yeah, the velocity is going down, but I think batters are hitting like 100 against the splitter this year. It was one of the most elite pitches in baseball. And so even though the velocity is going down, the slider's getting better, the splitter is getting better, and it's about pitchability and just repeating your motion. Once he gets that down, well, he probably will never get it down because there's so much torque, there's so many moving parts. It's just a matter of consistency, and it happens every year. Like we say, he goes through like a month where he just loses it. So he definitely needs to get to the point where either he changes his mechanics, whether it be moving his hands up or down. He did that a couple of times throughout this year too. He started off the years with his hands up, and then he ended up with his hands down. So just find that happy medium and repeat your delivery. And whether it be 95 or 99 or 103, throw strikes, because that's another problem that Chapman's had. When he comes in, we don't know if he's going to be over the plate or not, and that has a lot to do with, like I said, repeating his motion.
This is Chapman's last year right now on that contract. It's $18 million off the books next year, just like the dead weight of Zach Britton's his $15 million is off the books next year. I think that certain guys that Boone will live and die with certain guys. Remember, Boone will turn around and he'll put his A, when he knows he's going to win, he's got his A bullpen. He's got all those guys. When it's a loss, he's putting in anybody but those guys.
Chasing
He's going to use Chapman. He's going to use Chapman until Chapman goes on the DL or the IL, they call it these days. And then Loizaga comes in, and then when Chapman comes back, if Loizaga is rocking and rolling, then he won't put him back. But he's going to, the start of the year is going to be with Chapman. If he goes, he's halfway decent throughout the rest of the year, Chapman will be the closer at the end, and that's what the problem is going to be, or one of the many problems that this team will have.
I'm just saying the scenario could be where they could be maybe either neck and neck or leading the division by a comfortable margin going into the dog days of summer. You can't have a guy blowing saves or blowing leads. Period.
Well, if he does that for a week, yeah, that's going to be a problem. But if he blows like one, or if his blown saves are like maybe 5, he's not getting out of that. He's not losing that job.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you're blowing 5, 6 in a row, it's like, sorry, my dude, but you got to take.
Well, yes, at that point, my dude's got to walk to the back of the line. But I still think that's going to be a Cashman. It's a Cashman decision, not a Boone decision. Boone won't make that.
You guys are forgetting that this past season
Boone won't do it.
You guys forget that this past season when he was struggling, they did that. They took him away from the closing role for a little while. Don't you guys remember? So
yes, but what we're saying is, what I'm saying is that Cashman makes that decision, not Boone makes the decision. That's where I'm coming in from. I don't think.
I really think this is Boone's team. I think this is Boone's team, and I think he makes that decision. The on-field stuff, Aaron Boone decides. He's gonna pass it by Cashman. He's gonna pass it by Howe, but Boone is gonna make the final say on like who's gonna pitch, on who's gonna be in the lineup. This is Boone's team. It wouldn't be Boone's team if Boone wouldn't be back if Cashman didn't feel like he he had control of that room. He had control of what's going on.
And not only that, look at all the analytic people they brought up to support him. The coaching staff to support Dylan Lawson, for one of them, who is responsible for Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza turning their seasons around down in AA last year. I mean, they brought in some very sound people that were in the minor league system as coaches to support Boone, and I don't think they're going to stand for it if they tell Boone to do something off the reservation completely crazy like that. I don't think they're going to allow it to happen.
All right,
no way.
Obviously, talking about final years of the contract, obviously, big question mark now with Brian Cashman. I think the fact that they brought Aaron Boone back means that Cashman's also going to be extended, because if they're going to bring in a new GM, you don't have, the new GM is going to want to pick his own manager. So that the fact that Aaron Boone is back, I think they can extend Cashman after this season. But what do you guys think?
I feel like this
I think
offseason
Cashman's coming back.
Yeah, this offseason's huge. If Brian Cashman has a really good offseason, then he's coming back. But if they go into spring training without making any type of moves, this is a fourth place team. The Red Sox are better. You can argue right now. You can argue that the Blue Jays are better. And you can still argue that the Rays are going to be competitive. They always find a way. So looking at the roster as it's presently constructed, they're a fourth place team. But if Cashman has an offseason where he brings in the impact players that we desperately need, then he'll be back. He's fighting for his job, and I think he knows that.
And going back to my previous statement about Steinbrenner, a general manager is only as successful as his owner will allow him to be. Like, I don't really blame Cashman for a lot of the nonsense that's been going on the last couple of seasons when you're handcuffed by your owner, being told you can't spend money. I mean, look at what happened in 2016. I guarantee you Brian Cashman went into Hal Steinbrenner's office and slammed the door shut and said, give me the reins, let me do what I got to do, or I'm out of here. And that's when you saw A-Rod leave. That's when you saw Teixeira leave. That's when you saw Sanchez, Judge, Austin, all these guys all the baby bombers come up and start playing. So your GM is only as successful as your owner will allow you to be.
It was already said that Cashman went in there, said we have to reboot the system, but Hal's also the one who turned to him and said, we can't just throw everybody away, and that we need to bring people back. Cashman was going to trading off everyone. He traded off Chapman to get Torres. He traded off Andrew Miller, got Justice Sheffield, got Clint Frazier for it. They're making all these deals to go, and Hal's big thing was
it was like the wild card game.
Yeah, to lose in the wild card game, but he
don't.
It was a pleasure speaking with you guys. Again, people can follow you on Twitter at Bronx Muchachos. Awesome chat. Again, congratulations on launching the podcast. And again, people should subscribe to you. Give my regards to Alex. Again, Bronx Muchachos, thank you for this conversation. Awesome. And good luck for 2022.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on, man.